Welcome to our tutorial about timer control. Timer control provides a mechanism for executing methods at specific intervals. In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to build a digital clock. Let's get our toolbox. I'm going to use two labels. Now let's go into the toolbox and look for the timer. Simply double-click, and the timer control appears here in the bottom left. Timer controls are not visible during runtime. Let's begin by positioning our labels. We'll rename this one LBL2. And let's change the font to something like a bold 12 point. Now let's change the name of label 1 to LBL1. We'll modify its font property also. Bold and 12 point. OK. Oops. Let's go back and edit that. We need bold, not italic. OK. Now let's set up the properties for the timer control. First, under Enabled, let's add True. The second property we're interested in is the interval. We've set the property to 1,000 milliseconds. That's 1 second. Let's double-click on the timer control and we'll write some code for it. Here's the timer 1 tick event procedure. This event procedure runs every time the timer updates, or every second in our case, since I set our interval to 1,000 milliseconds. Let's write some more code now. LBL1.text equals time string. This statement gets the current time from the system clock and then assigns it into the text property of LBL1. Now let's write our second statement. LBL1.text equals space system period date time period now. Click outside to check our syntax. We need to change this to LBL2, by the way. The second statement will get the current time and date from the system clock and then assign it to the text property of LBL2. Let's try running our program to see how it works. As you can see, our program updates every second as we programmed it to. Let's close the program. If we want, we can also display time in a different format. We can use the toString function, open parenthesis, and let's enter our formatting change like this: hours, minutes, seconds, and fractions of a second. Click outside, check for syntax. There we go. Let's run the program and see what happens. Notice how the fraction of a second number isn't changing. That's because the interval we set up was 1,000 milliseconds, or 1 second. Let's go ahead and change the interval property. We'll change it to 1 millisecond. We'll run the program again, and as you see, our clock changes every millisecond. Let's stop the program. And let's return to our code. Actually, first, let me add a couple more buttons. I want to put in some buttons that stop and start the clock. We insert the second button, double-click. Let's type timer1 dot enabled equals false. Next line, LBL1.text equals empty string. Next line, LBL2 text equals empty string. Now let's write some code for button 2's click event. Here we'll enter timer 1 dot enabled equals true. Let's run our program. Oops, we've got a syntax error. Let's fix that. And we'll try to run our program again. Now when I click button 1, the clock disappears. When I click button 2, it appears. Let's check it a few more times and close our program. Basically, what I've done here is make the clock start and stop by assigning the true and false values to the enabled property of timer 1. And this concludes our tutorial about the timer control.